Look at this guy. What's going on, Jim Miller?
How you guys doing?
Today's not hair day, huh?
No, yeah, it's getting a little out of control.
It
Need to
looks
get a
good.
need to
It
get a
looks like
cut.
it looks like a guy that's in fight camp and ready to jack a fool up.
Yeah, the problem is it gets in front of my eyes, so I gotta trim it up. But that's on the schedule for tomorrow. So
You know that you and Bobby Green have almost a combined 30 years of pro fighting experience. That's incredible for two guys that experience to still be doing it at a high level. Fans get excited when they hear you guys are going to be fighting, and now you two are matched up.
yeah, he's been around for a long time. I mean, we almost fought back in 2014, and yeah, like we've been around, and it's just never his name's never come up. So um, he's a guy that I've seen fight times. I'm a fan of him. Um, he's one of those guys that like I always kind of wanted to fight because he's got a very unique style. So it's one that I would have liked a little more time to prepare for, but whatever. This is the way it seems to go for me these days. Is that I only get about 2 weeks. So either way, I'm excited to fight him.
Now, couldn't you say, yo, man, I'm Jim Miller. I've walked the octagon many times. I'll fight him at UFC 259, now not UFC 258, and then hang up?
It's it's just that the way that it goes. I'd been asking for a fight um, since like September.
Um,
So it, Sean said that a spot opened up, so it was either fight now or who knows, March, April, and I really didn't want to sit that long. If I could fight in like the time frames that that I would like to, that would I feel like be better for me. I would probably compete a lot better as well. Um, I'd be well past 40 fights in the UFC at this point. This is like the third time that I've had 6 months in between fights, and that's too long for me. I like to fight every 3 months. So yeah, it was kind of one of those things where the slot opened up, so it was like, hey, I'll take it, whoever you can find to jump in there, and Bobby said yes.
Now, that said, I imagine you've been doing this for a long time. They didn't catch you with a pina colada on a hammock. I'm sure you've been working out and staying somewhat fit and ready to go, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's I used to be able to stay in it, and it'd be like I'd fight, Saturday and Monday afternoon, it'd be back in the gym, same way. But I'm not 25 anymore, so um, it's a little bit harder for me now. But at the same time, I knew that this was probably going to happen. I knew that a short notice a fight was probably going to be the way that I would get to fight, you know, sooner rather than later. So, um, I had been trying to figure some things out because my last fight, I had a pretty crummy performance. You know, I felt pretty good, even with it being another short notice fight. But I went out. I had a good first round. Definitely not the hardest first round of my career, and I walked back to the corner, and I was done at that point. Um, Vince was able to keep the pressure on me, and and take the fight from me. But it was one of those things where I ended up vomiting my own blood for about 20 minutes after that fight. So I've been trying to
Whoa.
like figure out what happened and why I was so exhausted, because I felt like everything was in control. Um, but control's kind of, it's just this. It's all pretend, right? Like we can control our effort, we can control our attitude, and that's about it. Um, so I've been trying to, like, I was trying to figure that out. Did a bunch of tests, stuff like that. We really didn't like diagnose anything. It was like just level of exertion. So yeah, it was just it's one of those things. So I've been trying to like build my base back up, and you know uh take a bit more scientific approach to it. I've been back in the gym, and I've been working out, and You know, I did get sick around just before the holidays, so then I had a little time off there. But got back into it, and I'd been back in, like I was in a training camp a couple weeks, you know, prior to finding out this fight was on. So, you know, I have been preparing and you know, ready to go.
And the diagnosis. Oh, go ahead. Go. Sorry, you're right.
I was gonna say, well, you didn't get any type of answers at all from doctors or anything like that.
Nope, nothing. You know, yeah, it was like some of my liver numbers were a little bit elevated, stuff like that, and they said like you know, testosterone was a little low, but it's like, hey, you just got your ass kicked, so that's kind of normal for that circumstance. So yeah, I don't know, because it was like I was doing 10, 11 5-minute rounds in a row, you know, hitting pads, and then having, you know, the young animals that I've got at the gym coming after me, and yeah, I lasted 5 minutes. So you know, it's a fight, and even though there aren't necessarily like nerves to where I'm gonna have that adrenaline dump, and that definitely wasn't the case. There's still a level of commitment into every strike you throw and every, you know, submission you throw on somebody, or you know, you're just things are kind of elevated. So that was probably just it, and you know, it's the way it goes.
You brought something up early in the interview about preparation, and you wish you had like a little bit more time to prepare. But I was actually thinking about this in the morning. Bobby Green to me would be a nightmare to prepare for, because he kind of brings chaos, but it's controlled chaos. It's really weird. Like every time I watch him, I don't really understand what he's doing until the fight's almost over. And I realize he meant to make it chaotic like that. So, what do you invite that sort of type of fight, a chaotic fight? Because I always look at you as a guy, win or lose, you never strike me as somebody who's not prepared. So how do you look at this fight going forward here?
You know, he's just got that different style. You know, I've never fought somebody, you know, I've seen pretty much everything there is to see inside the octagon, and I haven't fought somebody that strikes with the style that he does. You know, like I said, we almost fought in 2014, so I had time to prepare for it, and just kind of getting that look right, and just getting the reps in of dealing with somebody that moves that way. But yeah, when it comes to like the fray, right, and kind of the chaos, that's what I'm always driving for. That's where I'm the best at what I do. You know, like, you know, I always use the Talladega Nights thing, and like, you know, Jim Miller's not a thinker. Jim Miller's a doer. Like when I'm working at my best, I'm not planning things. I'm not setting things up. I'm trying to move and to make my opponent just be reactive, and then my body takes over, and it's like there's elevator music going on in my head, and things are just happening, and that's when I perform at my best, and that's when I pull off things that I might not have ever done, you know, even in the gym. So yeah, I try to get to that point, and you know, hopefully that's the way this fight goes, and the fight pace is high, and it's unpredictable, because that's where I thrive.
I have a compliment and an insult. Which one would you like to put?
I'll take the insult.
So remember that thing that I asked you to do?
Yes.
So that hasn't come out yet, but I have to kind of run that by people, almost exactly how we're doing right now, right? And you could see kind of like a control group, right, to see how they react. They reacted the strongest to what you said, Adam. It was so
That's not
funny.
an insult.
Well, there might have been a couple. There might have been a couple. F you, Jim Miller. But I mean,
yeah, no, that doesn't strike me as an insult. That's even more of a compliment. You know, like
there you go. Yeah, I think that one is by far the best one. So that's kind of your insult. And then the compliment is this. I don't know if you caught this, but we did an interview with Dustin Poirier, and everybody's been asking about the leg kicks. But the one thing that I heard him bring up in our interview that I didn't hear him bring up in other ones was he said, I remembered when Jim Miller did that to me. And he goes, that never got out of my head. That feeling of my leg is just not working. So in a way, you're responsible for defeating Conor McGregor. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. You know,
Do you remember much about that fight and that particular strike?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things. It's I trained to do that the little calf kick, the cut kick, for when I fought Diaz, and unfortunately, about 2.5 minutes in, a cherry bomb went off in my ankle. So it was then hard to be throwing the leg kicks with any power, standing on one leg. I used them a bit against Lozon the first time. But at that point, my shins weren't really conditioned. So then it ended up like turning into a bone bruise because I hit him with the same spot on my shin, but not in the same spot on his leg. Probably at least a half a dozen times, maybe a little bit more. So it was one of those things that like I wanted to use more inside the octagon, but for a while there, I had to pack out my shin guard, and I was taking like grout sponges, and I would put those in the shin guard. I would wear 2 sets of shin guards, and it would still hurt. But it's something that I had put into the mix years ago, over 8 years ago now. And I've been able to do it, but I just always dealt with, foot injuries and shit like that before fights, constantly. So, and you're kind of the product of what the last few weeks are. I mean, that's really what this comes down to. Like Dan Henderson will always have the H-bomb, but when he's 80 years old and he hasn't done it, recently, it's going to come a little bit slower, and it's probably only going to come once, and it might be effective, but it's not going to be effective multiple times. That's for sure. So I've been trying to, use that in fights, and it just, something always comes up where I'm not using it in training. But yeah, when I fought Dustin, I was in a tough spot there, like physically outside of the fight. And I remember like he did it first, right? He kicked me first, like 2 or 3 times. And I was like, wait, like I can do this back. And then, yeah, I started throwing those kicks, and I feel like I was like, 2 or 3 more from him not being able to stand up. And, that was one of those fights that my Muay Thai coach, he's like, when he stepped into the octagon after that fight, he's like, the most noticeable thing was the look on Joe Rogan's face. He said, I see Joe Rogan's face, and he's just like he's looking at a car accident, and there's just body parts everywhere. It was yeah, that was a hell of a fight, and I'm glad to have helped, helped him get that victory, and kind of shape things. So yeah, it's just, we'll see, if I'm ever able to throw those kicks in a fight again. But
I was about to ask you. So Poirier gave McGregor the leg kick lesson. You gave Poirier the leg kick lesson. Who gave it to you? But it sounds like Poirier had just given it to you earlier in the fight, or had another fighter kicked you in the calf where you were like, "Oh, that shit hurts."
No, I've got, at this point, pretty well conditioned legs. Like obviously earlier in my career, as a weapon, it was harder for me to use. Like I said, I banged it up against Lozon the first time, but I've always been pretty good at absorbing them in the room. Not that I want to get kicked in the leg in a fight, but yeah, it's yeah, nobody's banged me up with them, but I usually come away on the good end of it. I do stupid stuff like I'll I'll kick trailer hitches now to to fuck with
Jesus,
people.
take it easy. Really?
Well, there's different ways to kick stuff, right? Like when I'm kicking somebody's leg, I'm trying to kick through it, so you're like really pulling your weight through it. And then there's like when you kind of try to kick heavy, so like that's kind of how I'll do it sometimes, and just to see the look on people's faces, you got to hit it square, like you don't want to catch an edge, but yeah, I mess with people like that, you know, when the trailer hitch rattles and the bed of the truck moves a little bit, they're like, what the hell?
I think Tony Ferguson kicks those parking poles. So yeah, I've heard these things. You guys are nuts, man. But do you think the upper thigh leg kick is just going to go away, or is more people now just focusing on the calf kick? Or I mean, they're both debilitating, but the calf kick seems to get you quicker that result, and you have a better chance of hitting the performal nerve, you know, that could just really shut it down.
Yeah, I don't see the regular leg kick going away, honestly. The thing with the calf kick is when you're throwing it, you know it's going to suck on, you know, when you land it too, and it takes a certain level of, you know, crazy and being a psycho to do it. So it's a lot easier to kick somebody in the thigh than it is in the calf. You know, like you kind of just have to make that, you know, agreement with yourself that this is going to suck either way, but it's going to suck for him a little bit more than it sucks for me. But you know, like I always look at like pain in a fight. It's like a swimmer getting wet. It's gonna happen. It's fighting. It's supposed to hurt. So you know, if I'm the one dictating it and controlling it, then I'm a lot more comfortable with it. So, yeah, it's you gotta make that agreement if you're gonna throw the calf kicks.
I don't know if you know this, but Dustin couldn't fly the next day. I think he had to stay back 2 days. I think the fight was in Jersey. I think he had to stay back a few days because the leg had swelled up so much it wasn't recommended that he fly. Because I remember we had him on the show and we thought he was already back in South Florida or Louisiana. He goes, "No, man, I'm still here." Like that fight stayed with him, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty great though. Like because you fought so many people over the years, you have memories with a lot of people, you know, that are legends like yourself.
Yeah, you know, it's been awesome to share the octagon with a bunch of these guys, and you know, Dustin's he's as tough as they come. I was bumped into him at the what the heck did I call it, the fighter retreat or something like that. You know, this was after he had fought Alvarez the first time, and you know, and he was still dealing with compartment syndrome at that point. So you know, to be dealing with that, and you know, and fighting a guy like Eddie, you know, before he's even over it, is just it's a testament to how tough, you know, Dustin really is. You know, it's yeah, it's not fun when you bang up your legs and stuff like that, and it's one of those nagging things.
Last question: have you had anybody in sparring talking to you? Because you know Bobby's going to be talking to you, just to maybe throw you off.
You know, I haven't. None of my guys will talk to me while we're sparring, because I try to throw some craftier stuff at them when they do that. You know, make them pay for it. But you know, like I said, when I'm running at optimal level, nothing gets in the way. You know, like I said, it's just elevator music going on, and it's like a state of like urgent calmness, right? Like you're in that flow state, and it's like things have to happen fast, but you know, I mean, I get such tunnel vision when I step into the octagon anyway that you know, I don't see outside the octagon. I barely ever hear my corner. So I mean, Nate, when I fought Nate, I remember him saying something, but again, like I just don't hear. It's just white noise. I saw his mouth moving, and I reached up to throw that the front kick and kind of teeped him in the face a little bit. Obviously not hard enough, but you know, yeah, it's I don't really care. He can be singing show tunes if he wants to. I'm gonna be doing what I got to do in there, and trying to fight at my best.
You truly are one of the special ones, Jim Miller. You've been doing this for a long time. It's fun covering you. Gracious for your time here, a week before this next fight against Bobby Green. Can't wait to see you at UFC 258. So thank you again. I know you have a big family. I know you got to probably either train or get to one of them. Mm-hmm. So thanks again, as always, for joining us here on Junkie Radio.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.